Welcome back. Well, Sound Alliance is an online publisher and advertising company focused on capturing the 18 to 29-year-old market. Now, it sees big growth in the native advertising category in Australia, appointing a native advertising editor just last year. Now, it's also looking to take some of its brands overseas. To tell us more about the business and the outlook for it in 2014, we're joined by Sound Alliance CEO and founder Neil Ackland. Now, Neil, thanks so much for joining us both here in the studio. I guess just talk us through the breadth of your offering and also a bit about your target market.
Sure. So Sound Alliance is the leading youth content company in Australia. Each month we reach over 1.5 million young Australians aged predominantly between 18 to 29. We have a range of youth titles across music and pop culture. The biggest ones include In the Mix, Faster Louder, Junkie and Same Same. And essentially what we do as a company is we create really compelling content that people share through social networks, and we create content for consumers and also for brands. The company's been going now for over a decade, and we're probably the leading youth company in Australia for this particular area.
Neil, tell us a little bit about what you're doing overseas, and how important is that to your business model to sort of make that work for you?
The area we're focused on overseas is In the Mix. In the Mix is an electronic dance music site, and that particular genre of music is really exploding at the moment in the US. So we saw really strong organic growth to that site, and we are pushing into that market now. We've just expanded there earlier on in 2013. We're hiring a team over there and really pushing hard into that area because we see just fantastic growth there. It's a really huge movement in pop culture and youth culture today.
And, you know, things like BuzzFeed, are they going to impact your business, do you think, going forward?
I think that's great that BuzzFeed's come to Australia. It's really exciting for the market, and it's really exciting for native advertising, which is an area that we see tremendous growth in. We've gone from pretty much a standing start in March last year to doing almost 20% of our total media revenue through native advertising. So it's a new area. There is a lot of buzz around it, and BuzzFeed coming into the market just adds to that, and we think it's just going to help to expand the category and educate advertisers and brands and the market on what that can do.
We had Andy, the Chief Revenue Officer for BuzzFeed, on the show last week, and he was talking about their native advertising offer, which is basically sponsored advertising, isn't it?
Well, that's one way of looking at it. We don't quite see it that way. There's quite distinct differences.
Money changes hands for it anyway.
Yeah. Sure, yes.
It's dressed up as content.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, our approach to native advertising is really about the editors that are creating the content and publishing the content every day coming up with a compelling brand story. So rather than having a separate team, an advertorial team, if you like, creating the story, it's really coming from the people with the great ideas. So we're trying to tell brand stories in a really compelling way.
So it can be initiated by you, not always the advertiser.
Yes, and you know, the great thing about it is the internet's just the great leveler. So if the content's not good, people won't engage with it and they won't share it. So the challenge here, you've got this beautiful juxtaposition, is creating really compelling content that can tell a brand story that people want to share through social media.
Are you seeing much growth in advertising?
We are. We're seeing, particularly in native, that's been a really strong area of growth for us. The other areas that are growing is mobile, also integrated. So we do a lot of work directly with brands who are looking to speak to young adult Australians. And so what we'll do is come up with strategies and ideas for them that we can then push out through our media channels and beyond our own media channels. So we may do that through social media or through their own owned or earned media as well.
And just quickly on that ad offer, the BuzzFeed were quite dismissive of, in a funny way, of banner advertising and that. You sort of offer advertisers in both options, don't you? Native advertising, more formal, old-fashioned, if you like. Do you think that's a place to be at the moment? Just have both those solutions available?
Yeah, I think each has a role to play. Display advertising is great in terms of getting a brand out there and brand awareness. I think native advertising is great for telling a story. You know, ultimately, I think to engage with the target audience that we are dealing with, it's important to be in-stream, and it's important to create things that can be shared socially, but you also need to get your brand presence and awareness out there. So I think both have a role to play, and for us, certainly, we see a future in both of them at the moment.
Do you compete on quality of audience and size?
Do you mean with BuzzFeed or?
Yeah, no. When you're offered, you know, when you sell to advertisers, is it all about the total, or is it more about the quality of that audience?
It's more about
or
the
a bit
quality.
Of both?
Yeah, it's a bit of both, but really it's about the quality of our audience, how engaged they are, how influential they are amongst their social networks. They tend to be really high users of social media. They tend to pick up on the latest trends and emerging trends with technology. They tend to spread things far and wide, so they're very influential amongst their own social networks. So if you're a brand that's looking to get your product out there, they're a particularly appealing and attractive target audience.
And how comfortable are you about the sort of outlooks everybody else is giving 2014, saying yes, a massive boom year for digital again, it's going to be good for you guys? Can you get maybe too comfortable and think, oh, there's no challenges for us?
No, we've been doing this for a while, and you cannot stop. It's constantly changing, constantly evolving. There's always new things coming through, and that's what makes it really exciting. It's a fantastic industry to be in, but you really do need to have your finger on the pulse and make sure that you're always moving ahead. Because you can get quickly left behind. Display advertising was huge, 5 years ago, and now it's been particularly challenged by technology and all of these different factors. And the CPMs, the cost per thousand has been paid for banner ads, has been falling, and there's new things coming through now around native advertising that are picking up some of that slack. So it's a really exciting time. We're really optimistic about this year and really excited about our product offering. Our traffic across all of our properties is growing really, really quickly, primarily driven by Facebook. And Facebook is really starting to place priority now on what they consider to be quality content. So for publishers like us who are investing heavily in content, we're a content company at our heart, it's a really exciting time.
So it sort of sounds like investing in innovation is paramount in your industry.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you think about what we do, we publish content for young people. And young people, by their very nature, like new things. They like fresh things. They want to discover things all the time, and that has to be at the core of what we do as a company.
What do you think about traditional old media, whatever you want to call it, coming in and trying to target, doing some of the stuff you're doing? Do you sit back and think, oh, gee, they're not doing a very good job? Or does it, do you think some of it's not too bad?
Oh, look, there's a few cases where it's not so great, but generally speaking, I think it's pretty open to interpretation, and I think it's really encouraging that you're seeing some of the bigger publishers out there also playing around with these new formats. All I think this does is helps educate the broader market and brings more advertisers and more dollars to the table for things like native advertising. So I really encourage it. I think it's great.
All right, Neil, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Neil Ackland there, CEO and founder of Sound Alliance. Coming up on Media Week, we'll take a look at a new magazine title that launched today, plus TV ratings. Who's beating who? It's coming up next.